It is worth noting that with all these efforts to get rid of Central and South Americans and now Haitians, there's one group of foreigners the president has, out of the blue, decided to invite to move here: white South Africans, in particular Afrikaners. He actually signed an executive order promoting, quote, the resettlement of Afrikaner refugees escaping government-sponsored race-based discrimination, including racially discriminatory property confiscation. He wants white Afrikaners here.
One thing I've realized in the past 8 years since Donald Trump first became president of the United States of America, and now Donald Trump is on his second term, is that the mainstream media is not afraid to call out racism. And that was not the case before. Before Donald Trump, like, you would never turn on like a MSNBC or a CNN and see any journalist accusing an elected official of being racist. But there's a trend going around now accusing Donald Trump of trying to make America white again. And this was the case when during his first presidency also. But now mainstream media is taking part in it. So are they onto something? Is Donald Trump trying to make America white again? Let's talk about it. Yes, so as I said, mainstream media now is very comfortable calling out racism, and this was not the case before. Like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, like, you would not turn on, as I said, CNN or MSNBC and hear them talking about racism. And now it's at a point where even politicians are involved. Like, even the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, like, came out and was saying Donald Trump is trying to make America white again. You would not hear that 20 years ago.
About keeping, make America, this hat, make America white again. They want to make sure that certain people are counted. It's really disgraceful. And it's not what our founders had in mind.
So what are your thoughts? Do you think that Donald Trump is trying to make America white again? Or do you think that this is just the mainstream media demonizing Donald Trump and the politicians are being a part of it? Because, politics is just like a big dirty game now. Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts. But what I must say is that Donald Trump is not making it easier for himself, because we see Donald Trump with this mandate about mass deportation. And Donald Trump, even though Barack Obama deported a lot of people, what I realize, it seems like Donald Trump is just like a showman. He likes to just show out, and he likes to be the talk of the town, and he likes to put everything like on the front page, whatever he's doing. So when we see Donald Trump, the mass deportation taking place now, one of the things that people are talking about a lot is the people that we're seeing being deported. We see like a lot of Latin American people being deported, a lot of Hispanic, Mexicans, Venezuelans. We see a lot of people from, like, say, Haiti. We see a lot of, so people on social media now are saying, like, why are the images of mass deportation black and brown people? Because people from Europe, everyone wants to go to America. There are a lot of people that go to America, overstay their visas, and people are making what I would say is a legitimate argument that why have we not seen any European on TV, ICE picking up any European and detaining them for deportation? Like, I'm sure people from Europe would have been deported, but one of the things that people are saying on social media, there's no image. If you came from space today and you saw this mass deportation thing taking place, you only see black and brown people, you would think that, okay, there are no Europeans being deported. So that is an argument that a lot of people are making online, that the face of deportation seem to be, right now, it seemed to be Latin, people from Latin America, Venezuela, as I said, Mexico, Colombia, and they're not seeing any images of anyone from Europe being deported. Another thing is that people, like a lot of Haitians got special visas to stay in America, and we saw where Donald Trump signed executive order to take away that privilege from them, and to send them back to Haiti. And people are looking at that and saying like, this is crazy because Haiti right now is a war zone, and there are people in America from Haiti that was given this opportunity, and Donald Trump is just going to take it away from them and send them back into a war zone to die. And to add to that now, Donald Trump, what is happening in South Africa, Donald Trump, there are a group of white South Africans that are privileged South African. They're not in any war zone. They're not facing any discrimination or anything like that. And Donald Trump is willing to sign special privilege to bring those white South Africans to America to become citizens. So that is not helping Donald Trump case at all when it comes down to people that are saying Donald Trump want to make America white again, because they are the people from Haiti that are in a war zone. And if Donald Trump is willing to send them back to the war zone and to take people from South Africa that are living their best life in South Africa, but Donald Trump is willing to take them while sending back people in a war zone to die. So that is not making his case at all. And another thing, a lot of people would push back and say like, look, this is not just Donald Trump. This is how America operates. This is how Canada operates. And this is how Europe operates. When Ukraine and Russia went into war 2 years ago, over 1 million people left Ukraine, and people were accepted in Canada, they were accepted in the United States of America, they were accepted in different European countries. And for over a year, when that happened, we saw a lot of Americans complaining and saying that people from Ukraine went into America and they were able to get a place to stay, and they were able to get a check every month to keep them until they were able to settle in. We saw the same thing in Canada, where people were complaining that, yes, Ukrainians came to Canada, they were able to get, the government funded them, and they were able to get a place to stay, a roof over their head. In Canada, there were some counts of families of 4, families of 3, getting up to $4,000 a month. And people were complaining that, look, there are Canadians that were paying taxes for decades and are struggling to pay rent and became homeless, and the government is not helping them, but they're helping people from Ukraine. So this, as I said, a lot of people would push back and say, look, this is not just Donald Trump. Immigration, Europe, America, Canada, they are comfortable with people coming from certain countries in terms of immigration, and that would be a reasonable point for anyone to make, because under Joe Biden administration, that happened where people from Ukraine went to America and they got a lot of help compared to what other immigrants would have gotten. And here in Canada, like, let me share a story. So a few years ago, like coming out of the pandemic, you know, I had a business and I had to close down my business and all of that because the pandemic was devastating for most people. So I had to close down the business. And so I decided that let me do something. So I started to drive Uber. So I was driving Uber for a little bit, and I went to pick up someone in Uber. And when I went to pick up this person, it was a young lady, a Ukrainian lady. Like, she was in her 30s, I think. And, you know, I picked her up and I was dropping her home, and we were in the car. And she, you know, a conversation sparked up, and we were there talking, and she was like complaining. She was complaining. She was like, oh, like she missed home and she don't like Canada and it's too expensive. And she was complaining about everything. And I'm driving this lady to her home, and I'm thinking like, how ungrateful can you be? How ungrateful can you be that, you know, the Canadian government, they sent like numerous flights to Ukraine to fly out a lot of people to Canada. And as I said, some families were getting up to $4,000 a month to help them out. And she came to Canada. She was able to have like a comfortable roof, and she was complaining. And at the same time, there were a lot of African refugees that came into Ontario. And there was some big protests within the Black community, the Caribbean community, you know, the African community here in Toronto. because we saw a lot of refugees that came from Africa, from all over Africa, that came to Canada, and they were on the street sleeping for months and no one put them up. And this was right within the same time when Ukrainians walked in and they were able to get a comfortable roof over their head. They were able to get, like, as I said, some people were getting $3,000-$4,000 checks that were recorded. Those people were getting those checks. So when you look at the way how Europeans are treated compared to how Africans were treated, like, it was night and day. So this is not just about Donald Trump. And as we can see, like in Europe, we saw in Sweden, all of last year we saw Sweden talking about paying immigrants to go back to their country. And when you dig deep and you look into the system, you realize that it is people that are coming from predominantly Africans, some people from India, that they are paying to leave Sweden to go back to their own country. So does Donald Trump want to make America white again? Maybe. But the thing about Donald Trump is that people are willing to call out Donald Trump for anything that he does. But when we saw the Joe Biden administration that was doing the same thing, like in terms of the way Ukrainians were treated in comparison to how others were treated, no one was willing to call him out. So that is just it. Like immigration across North America, across Europe, I don't believe that they're comfortable with immigrants coming from certain countries, and immigrants are treated differently depending on where they're coming from. If you're coming from certain place as a refugee, you're treated differently. And that is just the honest truth. So guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think that Donald Trump is trying to make America white again? Do you think that's a Donald Trump thing? Or do you think that is just America, that they're more comfortable with immigrants from Europe as opposed to the Caribbean, Africa, and Latin America? Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.